Okay, I'm here. Hang on. Hey, let's talk. Let's talk. Okay. What the fuck have the police been doing? This is the thing about, like, fucking... This is the thing about police is... Inquiries made them scarily abusive officers say disturbing things to me, like, you can handle a little bit of bullying, you're very intelligent, but you're making a very stupid decision. Yeah, police are not your friend, especially if you have mental health issues. There are countless, police brutality in mental. So, mental health in hospital, more like, yeah, so police are absolutely the last people you want in a situation where they are not trained to handle mental health situations. They're just not. Like, I'm sorry, but police are not the people that you should be calling. Like, they are not trained in how to deal with a mental health situation. Or if they are, they're trained like in a day. Like one day, there's like, if people be crazy, dogpile them and pin them to the ground, you know? Underlying social template. What do you mean? But there are countless accounts of police brutality in instances of instances of mental health cases, especially with people with like severe like manic episodes or psychotic episodes and things like that. You'll often find that police are called on these people, and the police actually aggravate the problem, where we should be redistributing the money that goes towards the police to social systems that assist people that are in these altered states and in these difficult phases. You know, it's like calling the fucking fire department if somebody's threatening to jump off a building, you know, and then they just fucking punch the person off the edge instead of trying to talk to them or whatever. Just like beat the living shit out of a person. They're all bullies with an annoying bouncy tone in their voice. I mean, yeah, I wanted to talk about the Ukraine situation, but honestly, if you're coming into my chat with this, we'll talk about this for a little bit. There are scholar articles here since 2022. We can have a look. But you'll often find that people who are committing a crime, I guess, or been rude and dumb. Yeah, but like that's the thing, is even in mental health institutions, especially if they're government operated, you're going to find a lot more, there are a lot more avenues for abuse of mental health patients in those government settings. I've been in a few psych wards myself, and most of them are government operated, and they're just fucking horrible. They treat you like absolute shit when you're in there. You become a subhuman. Let me just show you the Lifeways user reviews. Oh, sorry, Nate. I've disabled links. You can DM me the link, and then I'll talk about it. But yeah, so I found in mental health facilities there are a couple of things that seem to happen. One of the things is that you are they classify you as a danger to yourself, regardless of whether you actually are a danger to yourself, and that gives them power. It gives them the power. Well, this is specifically in my country, but I know this has happened in other countries too. If you're classified as a danger to yourself, they don't actually have to give a fuck about you. Like, they just don't, like, they will just fucking throw you into solitary if you say, like, excuse me, I don't want to be here anymore, you know? Like, they operated like a fucking prison. Like, I've seen and experienced Dark Souls 2 progress. I mean, maybe later, Tippler 91, maybe later, okay? Right now we're doing it just chatting. 18 months of psycho-robot and man-babies ruling over me. We don't use that word here, Nate. We don't use psycho or psychotic, okay? Tone it down with that a little bit. I just don't like the word because psychotic is an actual medical state, and when people say psycho or these people are completely psychotic and things like that, it leads to a lot of bad ramifications. It perpetuates the idea that people suffering those states are somehow are villainized in that instance. You know what I mean? So, like, I wasn't going to talk about this particular issue today, but apparently that's what we're doing. And that's the joy of just chatting streams, is people will throw you a wrench, and then you gotta just deal with it. But yeah, like when you say somebody is a psycho, you are either linking them to one of two things: either psychotic, which is an altered state of a human, and that person is suffering a hell of a lot in a psychotic state. In fact, it is documented that people who are experiencing a psychotic episode are more likely to be the victims of abuse than the perpetrators. So calling someone psychotic, they treated me like a child or animal, yet displayed varying degrees of intellectual disability themselves. And then the other side of that coin is when you say psycho, you could be talking about psychopathy. Now, psychopathy actually isn't in the DSM-5 anymore. There's a good reason for that. And this is not to say that you should take the diagnostic statistics manual as 100% this is how things are done, because it's constantly changing. And our understanding of psychiatry and psychology is constantly changing. But systematic problem is, yeah. But like, this is the thing: is that people with mental health issues are often the victims of abuse, and they're often used by those systems, or taken complete advantage of, or you call the cops on them, and then they get thrown in a jail cell when they're having a mental breakdown. Which is the opposite of helpful. Feel a little guilty for the other service users. But yeah, while we're on the topic, let's talk about antisocial personality disorder, because that is what you would normally describe. Oh, I really need to get rid of that. Social. So we've got antisocial personality disorder, right? Let's see if we can find a source just to talk about it a little bit. Because a lot of people will say, see antisocial personality disorder and immediately assume the person is a evil, abusive, manipulative person, when actually that person has a personality disorder which is leading them to malfunction in society and malfunction in the way that they deal with people. So I don't really like this WebMD article. This is why we don't trust WebMD. So I'm not even gonna... Actually, let's show you this and tell you why they're wrong. Let's start with that. Hang on. Let's do it. Let's show you the WebMD article and why it's disgusting and pathetic. Let's do it. People with antisocial personality disorder can be witty, charming, or fun to be around, but they also lie and exploit others. ASPD makes people uncaring. It does not. They care a hell of a lot. Uncaring? No. People with antisocial personality disorder exhibit a huge amount of care in what other people think, to the point where they believe, right? They believe that they don't care about what other people think. This leads them to rash, impulsive actions, right? Rash, impulsive actions which either put them in danger or somebody else in danger, or a mixture of both. From these people feel like cattle instead of a person with dignity and human rights. That's the problem with a lot of mental health institutions, though. glad you have talk bits like this. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It's fun. But like, so a lot of mental health, it's fun and educational. I try my best. Mental health establishments are some of the worst places that you can be in some cases. They do treat you like a subhuman, especially if they're government funded. You will get doctors and psychiatrists who come in and try to treat you, but generally the nursing staff and the all-round daycare staff are incredibly overworked and underpaid. So they give very little shit about people who are in an incredibly vulnerable state, either suicidal, psychotic, manic, depressed, to the point where they need to be hospitalized. So you get a lot of people in those states who are entering the system, and it is a breeding ground for abuse. So people like nurses, nursing staff and stuff who are overworked and incredibly tired will literally just throw you into a solitary confinement block. Yeah, they have those. If you go to a government institution, even if you don't, they have solitary confinement blocks where they will just throw people in if they are a danger to others or themselves. To the point where I've heard stories and seen straight out of Victorian London, yeah. So a lot of these people are thrown into this his audible's man just when you need him. Yeah, so like there are solitary confinement wards in a lot of government institutions for people who are misbehaving in some cases. And I've heard and seen stories of people who have been in those wards. Right, so they've been in those wards, and like they've knocked on the door multiple times saying they need to go to the bathroom because there's no place to shit or pee in the fucking 4 square, like 4-foot room that they've been thrown into with like a shitty bed on the floor, and the person has just like shat themselves. Like, that's not conducive to healing. That is not conducive to to recovery, you know? Like, if you are severe, like, if you are a incredibly, like, if you are actually, yeah, what the hell? Yeah, no, literally, they've had to pee or shit in the room. It's all backwards. And then the nurses, like, they don't let you go to the bathroom in those rooms, and then they complain, they bitch and moan when you took a shit in there, when you were, like, literally, like... when like you literally had to shit, like there was no, like, where did they want you to shit exactly? Did they want you to, this isn't Harry Potter, you know, you can't just magic your shit away if you shit your pants, you know. You can't just do that. Hey bar, how you doing? You know, like, this is still what happens. This is why. So, have you ever watched the channel? Let's just watch it. Actually, that's a good segue. Have you ever watched a channel called I think it's JCS Criminal Psychology? Hey, what's up? Check this out. Check this out. Okay, so he makes a really good point in this video. So I just want to find it.
This is 26-year-old Dawson McGee, sitting in a police interrogation room in the early hours of a Tuesday morning.
Doctors destroy health, framing destroys food.
He stabbed his own mother to death for asking him to move out of the house.
I want to just find doctors destroy health, farming destroys food, school. Doctors don't destroy health. I don't believe that the flaws of the system are inherently the doctor's fault. Right? Doctors go into their profession to help people. That doesn't mean that all doctors help people. I would like to believe that the fair majority of doctors believe that they want to help people. But there are instances where they are not helpful. You know? And one of them happens to be pharmaceuticals, but you get the idea. Yeah. I don't fully believe that. But anyway, this guy makes a really good point, this JCS guy in this video. I'm just trying to find it.
Prison for the murder of his mother, all of which was in spite of a continuous charade of mental illness similar to the one you see here. Dawson clearly believed that his passage through the legal system would somehow be easier if he were presumed insane, which is a naive yet somewhat common misconception that many suspects make when facing serious charges. They have this notion that a plea of insanity would either lower the severity of their punishment or liberate them from it altogether. That instead of being sent to prison, they would simply be released back into society, perhaps with a free psychotherapeutic program to attend on the weekends. This is, of course, a far cry from reality.
Yep.
In the United States, if you're found responsible for a serious offense, but also found not guilty of the crime by reason of insanity, you will be institutionalized at a high-security psychiatric facility.
Exactly.
These institutions are without question some of the darkest and most disturbing places in the system. And if you're not actually suffering from the crippling effects of mental illness, living in this type of environment will be a mentally agonizing experience. The foresight of what occurs inside these units would make the majority wish to avoid them. But once you are in, it is very hard to get out, and you will have to serve the same, if not a greater amount of time than you would have had to serve at a regular prison. So to put it briefly, if you commit a serious offense and then pretend to be crazy in order to get away with it, your life from that point forward will be an extremely dark and uncomfortable existence, whether you manage to fool the system or not. But there is one benefit, which is the elimination of capital punishment.
Yeah, so basically that's the point, right? Like, why do we have a system, in America specifically, but also all around the world, why do we have a system where the mentally ill, the people that are most vulnerable, and people who have committed criminally insane crimes, subjected to worse punishment than those in a prison? That's how us as a society in general view mental health issues. And this stems into hospitals and the way that we deal with people who are mentally ill and need to be hospitalized, right? So there's a systemic abuse going on there that like resonates through most countries. I think that most countries have this issue. Like, I can't speak for all countries, unfortunately, you know? But it's really fucked up what they do to you in, like, psychiatric wards. And forensic psychiatric wards, let me tell you something. If you are put into a forensic psychiatric ward, they believe that you're a danger to yourself or others at that level. It is very hard for you to convince them that you're fine. We punish the innocent. Well, this is the other thing, is, I almost want to watch this whole video because it goes through some interesting shit, right? But this is more, so this video is more about faking to be crazy, right? So, like, for example, we can view this guy here. Watch this guy. So, he's totally fine. Watch. This is what faking to be crazy looks like.
This is 26-year-old Dawson McGee, sitting in a police interrogation room in the switch in his demeanor.
There's something I want to talk to you about.
Did you see that? Did you see what happened there? It was pretty well telegraphed by the presenter. I don't want to play this guy's whole video. But seriously, if you haven't heard of JCS Criminal Psychology, it's a really good channel. You should totally check them out. They do some really awesome stuff. Can I get a link? Yeah, let's link them, because they do some really awesome stuff. There's a whole bunch of people that are trying to con the system without realizing that if they con the system, they will end up in a worse place than they've ever experienced in their entire lives. Like, that's how bad it is, man. Like, the way we treat psychiatric patients in hospitals is something that we definitely need to change, especially in government institutions. Government institutions are a breeding ground for abuse of psychiatric patients, you know? So if you are in the government system, I fully believe you when you say you're being mistreated. I feel cheated that I've had a long time online friend leave me over him accusing me of lying about this sort of experience. But it's a real experience. If you have mental health issues, it is a real experience. It's not just one person mentioning this, it's a whole bunch of people. Because, like, yeah, it's a whole bunch of people that have talked to. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people's experiences that are exactly like this. Especially since people who are suffering from, like, manic episodes, depressive episodes, or psychotic episodes are incredibly vulnerable people. Like, they are struggling and need help. They do not need you abusing them and throwing them in solitary confinement for no fucking reason. Like, yeah, they also, so doctors in those places as well, they literally prescribe, in advance, they prescribe high doses of benzodiazepines, so that if a patient gets too rowdy or frustrated with their situation, they'll just fucking inject you full of shit, so that you become passive and pliable. And then they see you the next day and they're like, oh, you're fine. It's designed to target people, and he still owes me an apology. Yeah, I don't doubt it, Nate. I don't doubt it at all. So I wanted to talk briefly, since we're on the topic, about how wrong this article is. So this is from WebMD. Do not trust any of the information that you find on WebMD, because not only is it overly reductive, it's also completely fucking wrong. Modern diagnostic systems consider ASPD to include two related but non-identical conditions. A psychopath is someone whose hurtful actions toward others tend to reflect calculation, manipulation, and cunning. Bullshit. People with antisocial personality disorder are acting impulsively. So while some of their, I should actually put, hang on. Let me do something here quickly. How did I do it? What is this? Hang on. What is this thing that I've got for my chat over here? Oh, okay. It's a thing. People with antisocial personality disorder are suffering from an illness. They are not inherently evil. So this information is wrong. People with APD may be acting in a manipulative manner, but it's because their impulses have led to undesirable outcomes. It's not them personally, it's a repetitive action. So they're actually suffering in this instance. While it may be hurtful to others, it is not their prime intention. Also, it's probably going to... I'm going to call it now. They're going to talk about lacking empathy in this article, which is going to piss me off, and I'm going to explain why. They also tend to not feel emotion and mimic rather than experience empathy for others. Oh my god, it's this next fucking line. Alright, let's talk about this for a little bit, okay? Because this is really important, okay? Hang on, I'm going to change the stream name, because we're completely off the topic now. Talking about... mental illness, stigma, and ASPD. Okay. There we go. Now people won't be misled into believing that we're going to talk about Ukraine by literally dehumanizing them. Yeah, so let's fucking talk about this, because this is fucking disgusting, and anybody who reads this really needs to, like, Oh, hang on. Twitch chat needs to go over that. Hang on. Let's do this. Do I like that? Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's fucking talk about this. First of all, people with antisocial personality disorder may have a numbed effect or a blunted affect towards emotion. That does not mean that they don't feel emotion. This is a myth. In fact, at times, people with antisocial personality disorder have the opposite problem. Very close to, let me just turn down the music a little bit. They have the opposite. I'm seeing a pattern with all of this. Ah, shit, my fan fucked out. It's coming back online. My fan is breaking, guys. It really sucks. And mimic. Now, we're going to talk about this a little bit more in detail as well. Where's the love? You may have a blunted feeling of emotion, but that's common. Do you know what do you know what that's caused by? It's called dissociation. Okay? That is disassociation, right? Having a numbed effect of emotions is linked to disassociation. It is not a constant state of being, right? Sometimes people with antisocial personality disorder have an exuberant amount of emotions that they have to try and process at once, okay? They have very intense emotions, alright? This is not true. This is literally just fear-mongering, and it fucking irritates the shit out of me. And mimic rather than experience empathy for others. A person with antisocial personality disorder does not lack the ability to feel empathy. Do you know what they used to say about people with autism? Is that people, like a lot of people who I've spoken to have got an autism diagnosis, have been told that they lack empathy because they don't express empathy in the same way, right? And that's probably the same for people with antisocial. It's more like propaganda than anything to me. This article is disgusting. We're only reading it because I wanted to look up stuff. And mimic, so if you talk to any autistic person, right? If you talk to any autistic person, this mimicking is often referred to as masking. It's trying to express your empathy in a way that's appealing to other people. Just because you don't experience empathy the same way doesn't mean you don't have empathy. Let me say that again. Just because you experience empathy differently and express it differently doesn't mean that you do not have empathy, okay? Psychopath. That's what they call a psychopath in this article. Which, by the way, psychopathy, no longer in the DSM. Do you want to know why? Because it's bullshit, and we've learned better over time. They can be deceptively charismatic and charming. Did they fucking get this from a movie? What is the reference for this? Are there any references in this fucking article? I know Synchronous would be upset. There we go. That was fucking annoying. Yeah, sometimes my internet just drops randomly. So, apologies. Wait, do I still have this? I'm closing this. Leave. Yeah, so I don't know how much of that got missed, but anyway, let's talk about this. This distinction that they're making over here has no like proper research behind it. In fact, I'm pretty sure the research shows the opposite of what's going on over here. Okay, so what they've mentioned here, impulsive, haphazard, and easily agitated versus deceptively charismatic and charming. This is what people will call people who are autistic psychopaths because of this lack of they say mimic and lack of empathy, right? So it often gets so, like, the common layman will often misdiagnose this shit, and it's actually really fucking disgusting. People with ASPD will often do the following: lie, con, and exploit others. That's common with all personality disorders. It's not just linked to... Also, when they say lie, con, and exploit others, what they actually mean is desperately try to attempt to create attachments. Or desperately trying to get their needs met in some way or another. It's not necessarily to exploit them, it's that something is lacking, which is common in personality disorders. Okay? Act rashly. So deliberately vague, it's just desperate. Yeah, it's pretty terrible. Act rashly, I mean, that's common with cluster B type personality disorders, so that's fine, I guess. Be irritable and aggressive. Also common in cluster B type personality disorders, and that's definitely something that you should feel empathy for, not judge. Fight or assault other people. I mean, this can happen with most cluster B type personality disorders, but I feel like it's stigmatizing here. People who suffer from these illnesses are often very passive and often are the victims of abuse. Break the law. Fuck the law. Don't care about the safety of others or themselves. This is fine. This is definitely antisocial personality disorder. But like, fuck the police, exactly. Not show signs of remorse after hurting someone else. Or I'm going to give you a bit of a hint here. They may not know that they've hurt someone, so they don't feel remorse for it. Or, if they do, then they're an abuser, not a psychopath, okay? Abuse is not mental illness. However, I will say this much. In cluster B type personality disorders, the amount of splitting, black and white thinking that you can have can lead you to either one end of the spectrum where you don't believe you've hurt someone and the way that they're acting is irrational, or it can lead you to the other side. This is more seen in BPD. Or it can lead you to the other side where you believe like you are a disgusting, trashy human being who should kill themselves because you left dishes in the sink. Okay, so it's a split. It's not necessarily that they don't feel remorse, it's just that some things are more intense for them than others. Fail to meet money, work, or social duties? Fuck that. I'm a communist. Do whatever the fuck you want to do with your money, and what social duties are we talking about? Are we talking about like paying debt or some shit? I don't fucking know. Abuse, drugs, or alcohol. Ooh. It's just scary. Oh, the drugs and the alcohol. Whoa. Come on, man. Yes. Alcoholism and drug abuse can definitely happen in cluster B type personality disorders, but it's often overstated, and often with treatment those symptoms are reduced. I recently got diagnosed with EUPD, but I don't believe that's even accurate. What is EUPD? Is it another cluster B type? EUPD. Emotionally unstable personality disorder. It is also known as cookie. Fuck or look at this bullshit. I'm just trying to read something. Or do you want to confirm the cookies? Fuck you. Just find my information out. Okay, so BPD. Okay. Seems to be the general consensus. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, Nate. What's the risk? Antisocial personality affects more men than women. How do we know this? I'm gonna give you a hint. Multiple women have autism, probably at the same rate that men are also autistic. But because the diagnostics are more geared towards studying men than women's symptoms, we often find that men are more likely to be diagnosed because their symptoms are more studied. That doesn't necessarily mean that it affects more men than women, okay? But nobody's helping it. I mean, you know, whatever. If it helps you, it helps you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Diagnostics, so also another thing that you have to realize about diagnostics is a tool to better your treatment. It is not necessarily a all-encompassing term. So while that it can be useful to explain some of your symptoms, it's not necessarily all that's going on with you, right? So you can have borderline personality disorder, but also exhibits like, you know, severe manic episodes that may be linked to like bipolar. You may have some slight psychosis, you know, but you're not quite. So it's like, it's a spectrum. And a lot of psychiatrists are actually wanting to move to a spectrum-based method of diagnosing. So you're treating symptoms rather than creating all of these labels for different diagnoses. Now, look, they're helpful in catch-all situations. Like if you are, to be honest, I just need a hug and everything's gonna be alright. I can do this though. Everything's gonna be alright. Here's a heart, okay? It's gonna be alright. Welling up now. Experts don't know for sure what causes it, but genetics and other biological factors are thought to play a role, especially in psychopathy. Where are you getting your information? You haven't linked any sources to your information. This is why I don't trust WebMD. This is also a segment about why I don't fucking trust WebMD for anything. Okay, we're gonna do you know what, we could actually do a bit of a funny joke stream. All we need is love. I mean, a lot of problems can be solved by people feeling like they are loved. That is true. Possibly because people with ASPD break the law. A lot of prisoners have ASPD, as many as 47% of inmates and 21% of... So why are we throwing them in? Why? Do you understand how fucked up this is? If you discover someone has a mental illness and you're keeping them in a prison, you are an asshole. You are an abuser and you are disgusting. Because those people need help. They don't need to be in an incarceration system. But then again, I believe in abolishing prisons, so, you know. Children and adolescents with conduct disorder. What the fuck is conduct? I hope that nothing... Conduct disorder, DSM. A repetitive, persistent pattern of behavior which the basic rights of others or major age-appropriate societal norms or rules are violated. Oh, fuck off! Oh, this child isn't following the rules. This child is obviously going to turn out to be... No, fuck you. This is why I don't trust these articles. Because conduct disorder, even though it's in the DSM, I'm not comfortable with it, like, to be honest with you. I'm not comfortable with conduct disorder. I'll tell you why. A lot of children with ADHD, autism, schizophrenia, because schizophrenia actually starts at a much earlier age than a lot of people realize. Oh, so does bipolar and a couple of other chemical sort of other neurodivergences. Like I can't like list all of them off the top of my head, but a lot of neurodivergences show up at a much younger age. And when children exhibit those symptoms, then I really hope that, you know, psychiatrists I really hope that psychiatrists and psychologists aren't like, oh, well, this must be conduct disorder, because you know, because then you're missing out on a whole bunch of other diagnostic criteria. Hang on, let's look at conduct disorder again. I just want to see something. Conduct disorder. I just want to see. Okay, so this is from the NCBI, which is an okay source. Disorder class: attention deficit and disruptive behavior disorders. Do you see why I'm uncomfortable with this? Do you see attention deficit? There's another psychiatric diagnoses that covers attention deficit. I wonder if they're related. Disruptive impulse control and conduct disorders. A repetitive, persistent pattern of behavior which the basic rights of others or major age-appropriate societal norms or rules are violated, as manifest in the presence of 3 or more of the following criteria past 12 months with at least one citation present in the aggression to people or animals. Often bullies, threatens, or intimidates others. Hey Midnight, I really appreciate the down-to-earth chat about mental health like this. Okay, Bubblebuck, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Often bullies and threaten others. Aggressive to people or animals, one same. Okay. Let me see. Conduct disorder. Like, this is just... Like, some kids are just like this, and some kids grow up in broken, disheveled homes. Like, if a kid is bullying another kid, and there are no external factors causing it, then that might be a cause for concern. But a lot of kids who are bullying, threatens, or intimidate, yeah, aggression to people and animals, like, I'm sorry, but when you're a kid and you see like a bug or something, or like a dead rat, and you fucking poke it with a stick, like that's just kids being kids, you know. Fuck, I mean, maybe I have this had this conduct disorder as a kid. Do you know what? I'm going to tell you an awful story. I don't really want to share this, but I'm going to anyway. When I was 5 years old, a friend let me play with their rat, and because the rat made a squeaking sound whenever I squished it, and I don't remember this, I was just told, whenever I squished it, it made a squeaking noise, so I kept squishing the rat. This is a horrible story, by the way, because I killed someone's pet. Okay, so I'm really sorry if you didn't want to hear this, but, you know, I crushed the rat, you know, this person's pet. Would that be aggression to people and animals, or was I just testing my surroundings? You know what I mean? So, like, this really has to be, like, yeah, I'm really sorry, Bar, and now I'm like a vegan and a huge animal rights activist, you know? So, you know, I guess, why? I don't know, I was a 5-year-old kid and I got given a thing that I thought was a toy, you know? It's really horrible. I know it's really horrible, but I want to share the story because, like, I think there's a difference between plain curiosity and malicious intent. Yeah. How would you describe aggression, though? It is aggressive. An organization sacrifice was a necessary evil. It is aggressive to kill a rat by crushing it. Right? That is aggressive. But I wasn't doing it aggressively or maliciously. I also killed a mouse that had snuck into my toilet and was in there for 2 weeks. Yeah. People kill things. It happens, you know? Especially if you're a kid. So how is this aggression? This might just be curiosity. How are we deciding these metrics to kill insects? Yeah, that's a huge problem with me. I own a tarantula, right? I can actually show her to you. Hang on. I think she's chilling at the moment, so hang on, give me a sec. Trigger warning for anybody who doesn't want to see a spider. I'll tell you when the spider's come. There she is. She's just finished eating, so I thought it would be okay to show her. She is handsome. How adorably terrifying. Yeah, do you want to hear a funny story while we're taking a break from the serious topic? I actually today I was gonna feed her a cricket, so I was getting a cricket out of the thing, and while I was getting a cricket from my cricket bucket, a cricket jumped out and was somewhere in my room. And I was like, oh shit. My roommate's a bit of a neat freak, so I like to keep things clean and tidy, and I was like, if she fucking finds a cricket, she knows I have the tarantula, if she fucking finds a cricket, like, walking down the hallway or some shit, she's gonna fucking lose her shit. So I cleaned I cleaned out everything in my room, I threw everything all over the place and whatever, you know, and I was like, fuck, I need to find this cricket. I found it behind my bed. And I grabbed it and I was like, you know what, fuck you. And I threw the usually I only feed her like one cricket every 1 to 2 days. I just threw the cricket in there, and my tarantula, she fucking just destroyed that thing. Like, she was busy eating, she was like doing her thing, and she saw the other cricket and she was like, no, I'm gonna grab this one too. It's a huge problem I have as like a vegan, is that I keep pets that are carnivorous very often, so it does counteract that, but also like it's nature, it's how things act, you know? Often initiates physical fights. Has used a weapon and that can cause serious harm to others, e.g. a bad break. Like, has been physically cruel to people. Has been physically cruel to animals. Like, how are we categorizing this? But only keep plants as pets. I have carnivorous plants. Or I had carnivorous plants. I need to get another Venus flytrap and another, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they're like the, hang on, I'll show you a picture. I'll show you a picture. I had one of these plants, but it died, so I need to get another one. They're actually very difficult to keep. So cute. Yeah, I need to get another one. They're actually really good for the summer because they eat a lot of insects, so I should get another one. Must be too hard to do. They actually, so surprisingly, they need a lot of sun. They don't just get all their nutrients from eating bugs, so you actually need to keep them in direct sunlight, some of them. A lot of people will say, like, for Venus flytraps and stuff, you should keep them in like not direct sunlight and stuff, but actually you should give them sun like for a good amount of time a day so that they can photosynthesize and stuff. So I'm reading up about this disorder. I had a Venus flytrap, but it died. I'm thinking it was the tap water. Yeah, you can't feed them. You can't give them tap water. I suppose it depends on your area, though. So I'm reading up about this disorder, and a lot of this just sounds like either being a kid or being a teenager. Especially if you're a teenager or a kid from a broken home. Like you might get involved in a gang or something like that if you're in a socioeconomic, like if you are like in a second-class citizen type situation. You know what I mean? Like this just seems like a kid that's being brought up in a damaged situation. This doesn't seem like grounds to diagnose someone with antisocial personality disorder. If the cause of somebody's personality disorder is linked to their upbringing, then isn't it more likely that they are just suffering, not whatever this article, whatever WebMD is trying to say here. You know what I mean? Like this just seems a little bit disingenuous and a little bit evil to try and classify people this way. To be diagnosed with antisocial personality, a person would have to have shown symptoms of conduct disorder before age 15. Okay, that seems fair. A lot of people with personality disorders develop them quite early. A diagnosis can't be made until age 18, though. Why? Why do we have this fixation in society with the age of 18? People develop at different rates. It doesn't necessarily mean this is not the God age, okay? 18 is not the God age where you're fully developed and a functioning human being. I'm sorry. You're still a kid at 18. Often adults with ASPD will have shown signs of conduct disorder in early childhood and adolescence. I'm gonna make a slight sidetrack here, but the things that were listed as conduct disorder really upset me because there are a lot of environmental factors that can contribute to you getting diagnosed with conduct disorder. A Lifeways employee. A lot of things, like if you come from a broken home, if you are a person of color who is living on the ropes, you know what I mean? Like this kind of sounds a little bit like there's some slight racism here because all of these things are basically like indicating a certain class or age group. Gonna be my catchphrase at this point. Symptoms are usually at their worst during a person's late teenage years and their 20s. How the fuck do you... Like, a teenager is just gonna be a teenager, dude. I'm sorry, but a teenager is just gonna be a teenager. You know? It may improve on their own over time. I mean, that's standard with cluster B. But, like, I know that there was a huge trend in my issue with putting people on the spectrum because they avoid eye contact, conflict, and bullying will do that to you. Being self-conscious will do that. I question in many ways, they identify illness in many ways. Yeah, there are circumstantial issues that are not being addressed here. You know what I'm saying? Like this WebMD article is disgusting and is completely malinformed, you know? I'm sorry, but this is just bullshit. Like, even looking at conduct disorder, a lot of this could be attributed to growing up being a teenager. I don't know if you know this, but teenagers be fucked up, yo. You do fucked up shit when you're a teenager. That's just, especially if you come from a broken home, like, you do even more fucked up shit. Yeah, exactly, Nate. And like, this ties into the thing that I was saying earlier, is that a lot of psychiatrists are wanting to move to a more spectrum-based approach when it comes to diagnosing someone, right? Like, they don't want to just they don't want to just diagnose someone with like, you know, they don't want to just diagnose someone with like ASPD or any of these other things. And call that a catch-all diagnosis for that thing. They want to treat, they want to do a symptom-based treatment plan for the specific person for the things that they are suffering from, you know? So this hard-line classification is completely contradictory to that. This disorder is hard to treat because people with ASPD rarely seek help on their own because they often think they don't need it. Most people feel this way. Most people feel this way. If you've got like bipolar, if you've got like schizophrenia, if you've got like borderline personality disorder, you know, like if you've got narcissistic personality disorder, like you don't think that you need help until you do. That's just how things go. When treatment is sought, behavioral therapy or psychotherapy in individual group settings may help. Doctors sometimes use certain psychiatric medicines like mood stabilizers and atypical antipsychotics off-label to treat symptoms like impulsive aggression. The FDA has not approved any medication specifically for antisocial. The FDA has not approved any medication specifically for antisocial personality disorder. Are you getting the hint there, WebMD? Maybe your article is full of shit. People with cluster B type personality disorders are vastly more acknowledge the vagueness themselves. Exactly. If someone close to you is ASPD, consider attending a support group. Consider attending a support group? They're literally like, I think that my wife is a psychopath. I better go down to the support group for my emotional trauma, for my wife's illness. Big mustache. She's hysterical sometimes, you know? And it just really gets to me. It's so traumatic when she asks me to do the dishes. What a manipulative witch. I can't believe I've been married to her for 40 years. They're the ones that need the support group, not you. Sure, if they've done some stuff that is like hurt you, go to a support group. But like, sorry, the idea of having a support group that is literally just like the survivors of narcissists and psychopaths is just so bloody disgusting to me. How many people in those support groups do you think where's sympathy? Exactly. How many people do you think in those support group have never got their spouses an official diagnosis? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, they haven't got an official diagnosis. They're just like, no, well, he was abusive to me, so he's definitely a narcissist. You know? He did things that narcissists do, like abuse me. And he always thinks of himself. And it's like, you can't just diagnose. Like, I don't know if I trust these support group vibes. Or seek help from a psychiatrist, social worker, or psychologist. You won't be able to change your loved one's behavior, but you can learn coping skills to help you set boundaries and protect yourself from harm. Yeah, sure, they're suffering from a mental illness, but what's really important is my feelings as a person who doesn't have that mental illness. I need support. All the heart, like, I understand that you need to process your emotions. Like, if somebody has a severe manic episode in front of you, it can be fucking traumatic. But to phrase it this way, like they are actively trying to harm you when they're suffering from a mental illness, is just disgusting. Like, it's just disgusting. Those people are like, your spouse is probably suffering a hell of a lot if they've got a cluster B type personality disorder. I'm just gonna let you know. Like, this is not something that's easily, like, dealt with. You know?